It was a busy Friday night at the downtown hotel restaurant, the kind of evening where every table seemed full. Servers moved quickly from one guest to another, and the sound of clinking glasses mixed with laughter filled the air. Among the staff, one young waitress stood out for her calm and attentive presence. She moved gracefully between tables, balancing trays of food and drinks, greeting guests with a warm smile, and making sure everyone felt comfortable. Her name was Lena, and though she worked long hours for modest pay, she took pride in her work, believing that respect and kindness could make a difference in someone's day. As the evening wore on, a man stumbled into the restaurant clearly intoxicated. His clothes were disheveled, his speech slurred, and he bumped into a chair as he tried to navigate through the crowd. Other servers glanced at him nervously, unsure how to handle the situation. A few whispered among themselves, debating whether to ignore him or call for assistance. The man was loud, asking for a drink and complaining about minor things, drawing the attention of other diners. Lena noticed the disturbance but didn't panic. She had encountered drunk guests before, but what struck her was the man's vulnerability beneath the chaos. He wasn't trying to be difficult. He was lost in his intoxication, disoriented and in need of guidance. Instead of treating him with impatience or annoyance like some of her colleagues, Lena approached him calmly, maintaining eye contact and speaking in a soft, measured tone. "Sir, let me help you," she said gently. "Please have a seat over here. I'll get you some water and we can make sure you're comfortable." The man blinked, surprised by her kindness. No one else had spoken to him with patience or offered assistance without judgment. He muttered something incoherent, but Lena didn't push. She guided him to a chair near the corner away from the main crowd and brought him a glass of water. She made sure he had a napkin, a seatbelt to steady himself, and kept a watchful eye without hovering. Her demeanor was respectful, treating him not as a problem to manage but as a guest to care for. Other staff watched from a distance, curious about how Lena handled the situation. Some of them had been frustrated with his loud complaints and awkward movements, but Lena's approach was different. She remained composed, offering small reassurances and patiently listening when he muttered grievances. She never raised her voice, never rolled her eyes, and never made him feel like an inconvenience. The man took a moment to sip the water, glancing around the restaurant with a puzzled expression. Lena smiled gently, making him feel seen and acknowledged without judgment. "Take your time," she said softly. "Everything's okay here." Gradually, his breathing steadied and the tension in his body began to ease. He leaned back in the chair, seeming to realize that someone was actually helping him rather than scolding or ignoring him. Lena continued her quiet attention, checking to make sure he was stable, offering him a small snack and asking if he needed anything else. She handled the situation with a calm confidence that reassured both the man and the surrounding guests. Meanwhile, the other diners started to notice the difference. What could have been an embarrassing scene was instead managed with dignity and care. The man's behavior remained slightly unsteady, but he no longer appeared aggressive or disruptive. Lena had diffused the tension without drawing unnecessary attention, turning a potentially negative situation into a display of empathy and professionalism. Eventually, the man's friend arrived to take him home. Lena coordinated discreetly, ensuring he could leave safely. She walked him to the entrance, supporting him lightly, and made sure he had transportation arranged. As he departed, he looked back at her and nodded, a small gesture of appreciation that spoke volumes. Lena simply smiled, returned to her duties, and continued attending to other guests, her focus unwavering. After the encounter, the staff couldn't help but comment on her approach. Some admitted they had been unsure how to handle the situation themselves, while others acknowledged that Lena's patience and kindness had prevented what could have been an embarrassing disruption. Lena, however, remained humble. She didn't seek praise or recognition. She simply believed that treating people with dignity, no matter their circumstances, was the right thing to do. That night, as Lena cleaned her station and prepared to leave, she reflected on the event. She thought about how small acts of kindness could ripple into significant consequences. She didn't know it yet, but this single interaction would set the stage for something that would change her life. It wasn't just about serving a guest, it was about integrity, empathy, and recognizing the humanity in others, even in moments of vulnerability. Her shift ended, and she stepped out into the quiet city streets feeling tired but content. The neon lights of the city reflected off the wet pavement from an earlier rain, casting colorful streaks across the sidewalk. Lena walked home slowly, replaying the night in her mind. She didn't realize that the drunk guest she had helped that evening would soon remember her for her respect and compassion, and that memory would lead to an opportunity far beyond her current life. In the days that followed, Lena continued her work as usual, serving guests, managing tables, and maintaining her professional demeanor. The incident with the drunk guest faded from her mind as she focused on her responsibilities. But somewhere, not far away, that guest, now sober and reflecting on his own actions, couldn't forget the care and dignity with which he had been treated. It left an impression that lingered, quietly influencing his thoughts and future decisions. Lena's approach to her work was consistent. She believed that every guest deserved respect, that every situation, no matter how challenging, could be handled with empathy, and that professionalism meant more than following rules. It meant understanding people. Her philosophy was simple but powerful, and it would soon become the foundation for an unexpected turn of events that would change her life in ways she had never imagined. Life at the hotel continued, the days blending together in a routine of serving, smiling, and managing the ebb and flow of guests. Lena's dedication did not go unnoticed by those who observed her work ethic and demeanor. While she remained modest, quietly performing her duties, the respect she earned among colleagues and visitors alike grew steadily. She embodied a calm competence that drew people in, creating a sense of trust and admiration. Little did she know, the guest she had helped was already thinking about her. In private moments, he remembered her patience, her empathy, and her unwavering dignity. That night, he had seen a rare quality, someone who could handle challenges gracefully and treat others with respect regardless of circumstance. It was a quality he valued deeply, and it planted the seed for a connection that would soon change the course of Lena's life. For Lena, the night of helping the drunk guest was just another shift, another responsibility fulfilled. But for the guest, it was an experience that lingered, a moment that stood out in his busy and often chaotic life. It reminded him that kindness and integrity still existed in the world, and it made him curious about the person behind those actions. He began to think that someone like Lena, who treated people with dignity even when it was inconvenient, was someone worth knowing and remembering, and so, a simple act of compassion, guiding a disoriented guest to safety and treating him with respect, set the stage for a series of events that would eventually open doors for Lena in ways she could not yet imagine. It was a moment that proved that small, thoughtful actions could have far-reaching consequences, and that integrity and empathy could create opportunities far beyond what anyone might expect. A few days had passed since the incident with the drunk guest, and Lena had almost returned to her normal routine. The busy shifts, the clatter of dishes, and the constant movement of guests created a familiar rhythm, one that she had grown comfortable with. Yet in the back of her mind, there was a subtle sense of curiosity. She wondered if the man she had helped was safe and how he was feeling. Despite her concern, she focused on her work, believing that she had done what anyone in her position should do, treated a guest with dignity and ensured their safety. Unexpectedly, the man returned to the hotel during a quieter lunch hour. This time he appeared sober, composed, and much more aware of his surroundings. Lena noticed him immediately as he entered, hesitating slightly before approaching her with a polite, grateful smile. He had come not just as a guest, but with an intention to acknowledge the care she had shown during his previous visit. "Excuse me," he began, his voice steady and sincere. "I wanted to thank you properly for the way you handled me the other night. You didn't have to, but you did, and it meant a lot." Lena felt a mixture of surprise and humility. She had not expected recognition. She had simply done what she felt was right. "Thank you," she replied softly, smiling. "I'm glad you're feeling better." It was no trouble at all. The man introduced himself formally this time. Lena learned that he was a high-profile investor who often traveled for work and was accustomed to luxury hotels and professional service. What caught his attention during that night was not just her skill in managing a challenging situation, but the way she did it, with patience, empathy, and respect. It was rare, he thought, to encounter someone in the service industry who combined competence with genuine kindness. He expressed interest in getting to know her beyond the professional interaction. He wanted to understand more about the person who could handle a difficult situation with such poise. Lena, Naturally cautious, was polite but reserved, aware of the difference in their social positions and the potential implications. She agreed to a brief conversation, keeping it professional yet open-minded, curious about the connection forming from a simple act of integrity. Over the course of their conversation, Lena and the man discovered shared values. Both believed in hard work, honesty, and the importance of treating others with respect. The man shared stories of his business experiences, his challenges, and the people who had influenced him. Lena, in turn, spoke about her life, her work ethic, and her philosophy about treating people well. There was an immediate sense of mutual respect, born from that initial encounter and reinforced through genuine dialogue. As the conversation continued, Lena noticed that he was not merely complimenting her. He was evaluating her character, her intelligence, and her capacity to handle responsibility. The experience had left a lasting impression on him. He admired her calm under pressure, her empathy towards someone vulnerable, and her ability to maintain professionalism even when others might have faltered. These qualities, he realized, were rare and valuable, not just in hospitality but in life and business. The man offered a small gesture of gratitude, suggesting that he could introduce her to opportunities that might allow her skills to grow beyond her current role. Lena, cautious but intrigued, listened attentively. She understood the significance of the offer, yet she remained measured, considering carefully before accepting anything. She valued integrity and independence, and she wanted to ensure that any opportunity aligned with her principles and vision. Over the next few days, they maintained communication. He checked in, asking for her insights on certain operational matters in the hotel and seeking her perspective on scenarios that required decision-making. Lena realized that her opinions were being valued, her voice respected in a way that extended beyond routine service work. The experience was both flattering and enlightening. She began to see that her skills and judgment could have far-reaching impact if given the right platform. During this time, Lena also reflected on her own ambitions. She had always been hardworking, committed to doing her best, but she had not fully imagined the possibilities that could arise from her dedication. The interaction with the investor illuminated a path she had never considered, a potential to grow, to learn, and to influence outcomes on a larger scale. Yet she approached it with care, knowing that opportunity required both readiness and responsibility. Their interactions remained professional, grounded in mutual respect. Lena offered insights about guest service, staff management, and operational efficiency, sharing her knowledge based on first-hand experience. The investor listened, asked questions, and incorporated her feedback in ways that showed he valued her perspective. This ongoing dialogue reinforced the impression that her qualities, empathy, attention to detail, and integrity, were not just admirable traits, but assets that could contribute meaningfully to larger initiatives. One afternoon, the investor asked Lena to meet him privately to discuss a potential project. Lena felt a mix of excitement and caution. She understood that this could be a turning point, but she also knew that she needed to approach it with professionalism, clarity, and confidence. She prepared thoroughly, thinking through her experiences, observations, and ideas that could be applicable to a broader context. When they met, the discussion was serious, yet encouraging. He explained the challenges he was facing in one of his business ventures and sought her input on operational improvements and management strategies. Lena listened carefully, asked thoughtful questions, and offered practical solutions. Her advice was grounded in real-world experience, delivered with clarity and confidence. The investor was impressed not only by her ideas, but also by the way she communicated and justified them. This meeting marked a significant shift. Lena realized that she was being seen as more than a waitress. Her intelligence, empathy, and professionalism were being recognized as valuable assets in decision-making and leadership. The experience was both humbling and empowering, showing her that a simple act of kindness could catalyze opportunities far beyond what she had imagined. After the meeting, Lena returned to her usual work, but with a renewed sense of purpose. She understood that her actions had consequences, that integrity and empathy could open doors that skill alone could not. She continued treating all guests with the same respect and attention as before, but now with an awareness that her efforts could have broader significance. She felt motivated, knowing that her potential was being acknowledged and that her choices could shape her future. Meanwhile, the investor reflected on her performance and character, He saw qualities that were essential for leadership: patience, strategic thinking, empathy, and the ability to inspire and guide others. He recognized that Lena had the potential to contribute to initiatives that required trust, judgment, and resilience. The seed planted by her respectful handling of a difficult situation had grown into a foundation for meaningful collaboration. Lena's colleagues noticed a subtle change in her demeanor as well. She carried herself with increased confidence, approached tasks with thoughtful precision, and engaged with guests and staff with renewed energy. While she remained humble and approachable, there was a quiet strength in her actions, a sense that she was capable of more than she had previously imagined. As days turned into weeks, the connection between Lena and the investor deepened through mutual respect and shared objectives. She continued her work at the hotel with dedication, while also contributing insights and ideas that were increasingly valued. The trajectory of her life was beginning to shift, illustrating how a single act of dignity and care could set in motion a sequence of events that led to opportunities and personal growth beyond her immediate awareness. Lena had not sought recognition, and she had not expected her life to change because of helping a guest. Yet, through her consistent demonstration of integrity, professionalism, and empathy, she had earned the attention and trust of someone who could influence her future. The encounter reinforced a simple but powerful truth: treating people with respect, even in challenging circumstances, could have lasting and transformative effects. By the end of Part 2, Lena was on the cusp of a new chapter. She was recognized, respected, and trusted in ways that extended far beyond her previous role. The journey that began with a drunk guest in need of care was evolving into an opportunity that could change her life. Her dedication, empathy, and professionalism had not only resolved a difficult situation, but also opened doors that promised growth, influence, and transformation. Lena's life began to change subtly at first. Though she continued her regular shifts at the hotel, her interactions with the investor, now a regular occurrence, introduced her to perspectives and experiences she had never encountered before. The discussions were not merely theoretical. He asked for practical solutions to real challenges in his business, and Lena found herself contributing ideas that were valued and implemented. Her confidence grew with each conversation, and she began to see herself not just as a waitress, but as someone capable of leadership and strategic thinking. The first significant opportunity came when the investor asked Lena to assist with a project he was developing for a local boutique hotel he owned. He wanted someone who could bring a fresh perspective, someone who understood the importance of guest experience, staff coordination, and smooth operations. Lena accepted the challenge cautiously, aware that this was a step into unfamiliar territory. She prepared diligently, drawing on her experiences at the hotel and her observations of efficient service, teamwork, and management. Upon arriving at the boutique hotel for her first day of involvement, Lena was struck by the contrast between the investment potential she had heard about and the reality of its daily operations. She noticed areas where improvements could be made immediately. Staff workflow was inefficient, guest check-ins were slow, and communication between departments was fragmented. Yet instead of feeling overwhelmed, Lena approached each problem methodically, listening to staff concerns, observing routines, and asking questions to fully understand the dynamics at play. Her first suggestion involved streamlining the check-in process. She recommended a clear division of responsibilities among staff, ensuring that guests were greeted promptly, paperwork was processed efficiently, and luggage handling was coordinated seamlessly. She also suggested training sessions for staff to enhance their understanding of hospitality standards, emphasizing the importance of attentiveness, communication, and teamwork. The investor watched closely as Lena implemented these changes, impressed by her ability to assess problems quickly and offer practical solutions. As the days passed, Lena's influence became more noticeable. Staff members, initially skeptical of an outsider stepping in, began to respect her guidance. She treated everyone with fairness and patience, listening to their suggestions while explaining her reasoning for each recommendation. Her approach was collaborative rather than authoritarian, encouraging staff to take ownership of their roles and responsibilities. The positive impact on the hotel's operations was immediate. Check-ins became smoother, guest satisfaction improved, and staff morale rose. Lena also introduced small, meaningful touches to enhance the guest experience. She suggested personalized welcome notes for returning visitors, coordinated with local vendors to provide unique experiences, and implemented simple but thoughtful gestures, such as offering complimentary refreshments for guests waiting during busy periods. These changes elevated the perception of the hotel, turning routine stays into memorable experiences. The investor took note, acknowledging that Lena's attention to detail and empathy for guests were qualities that set her apart. During this period, Lena faced challenges that tested her problem-solving skills and resilience. There were unexpected staff absences, equipment failures, and demanding guests whose expectations were high. Each situation required patience, clear communication, and quick thinking. Lena's calm demeanor and practical solutions allowed her to navigate these challenges successfully, reinforcing the investor's confidence in her abilities. One afternoon, a situation arose that mirrored her experience with the drunk guest. A guest arrived visibly upset, frustrated by a previous booking error, and spoke loudly in the lobby. Other staff seemed unsure how to manage the confrontation. Lena stepped forward, approaching the guest with a calm and empathetic tone. She listened attentively, acknowledged the guest's frustration, and offered a solution that addressed the issue without dismissing the guest's concerns. The situation diffused quickly, and the guest left satisfied. Lena's approach demonstrated that her ability to handle difficult people gracefully was not a one-time occurrence, but a consistent strength. As she continued to demonstrate competence, empathy, and leadership, Lena's relationship with the investor deepened. He began to entrust her with more responsibility, asking for her input on budget decisions, marketing strategies, and long-term planning for the hotel. Lena's perspective, grounded in practical experience and careful observation, proved invaluable. She realized that her skills, once limited to day-to-day service, could now influence broader business outcomes. This new level of involvement was both exhilarating and demanding. Lena had to balance her regular hotel duties with her growing responsibilities at the boutique property. She managed her time carefully, ensuring that neither role suffered. Her dedication and focus became apparent to both staff and the investor, who admired her ability to maintain high standards under pressure. Each success built her confidence, reinforcing her belief that she could achieve more than she had ever imagined. Through these experiences, Lena also developed a stronger sense of self-awareness. She recognized her strengths: empathy, strategic thinking, problem-solving, and the ability to inspire others. She also identified areas for growth, such as financial management and long-term planning, and she approached these challenges with determination and humility. The process of learning and adapting was empowering, reinforcing the idea that her initial act of kindness had opened doors that required both skill and integrity to navigate successfully. The boutique hotel began to flourish under Lena's guidance. Guests praised the improved service, staff morale improved significantly, and operations ran more smoothly. The investor noticed measurable improvements in revenue, guest satisfaction, and overall efficiency. He realized that Lena's contributions were not just temporary fixes, but sustainable improvements that had long-term value. Her ability to combine practical solutions with human-centered leadership was rare, and he began to consider her potential for even greater responsibility. Lena's colleagues at the hotel also observed her growth. She had evolved from a diligent, respectful waitress into a confident, capable professional who could influence operations, inspire staff, and enhance the guest experience. Her example encouraged others to improve their own performance, fostering a culture of excellence and accountability. Lena's journey demonstrated that leadership was not solely about authority, but about empathy, integrity, and the ability to inspire trust. By the end of Part 3, Lena had transformed from a waitress managing daily challenges into a trusted advisor and emerging leader. She had taken on responsibilities that extended beyond her previous experience, gaining confidence, respect, and recognition for her abilities. The connection with the investor, initially sparked by a single act of kindness, had grown into a meaningful professional relationship that opened doors to opportunities far beyond her previous life. Lena's story illustrated the power of empathy, integrity, and dedication, showing that even small actions can lead to extraordinary outcomes. With her role expanding at the boutique hotel, Lena began to feel the weight of responsibility and the excitement of possibility simultaneously. She had grown from managing tables and guest interactions to influencing staff performance, operational strategies, and the overall guest experience. Every decision she made had an impact, and she approached each challenge with careful thought, empathy, and a desire to create meaningful results. One morning, Lena arrived early to review the day's operations and meet with staff before guests began to arrive. She noticed small inefficiencies that could be improved. The morning briefing was rushed, some staff members were unclear about their roles, and communication between departments needed tightening. Instead of scolding or micromanaging, she implemented a brief, structured meeting where each team member could share their tasks, expectations, and any challenges they anticipated. This simple adjustment improved coordination and fostered a sense of unity, allowing the staff to feel heard and valued. Throughout the week, Lena focused on enhancing the guest experience in ways both practical and thoughtful. She encouraged personalized service like remembering returning guest preferences, providing small gestures such as complimentary refreshments, and offering guidance for local activities. These touches created a warm and memorable environment that guests began to notice and appreciate. Positive reviews started to appear online, highlighting the attentive staff and the welcoming atmosphere, reflecting Lena's influence on the culture of the hotel. Despite her successes, Lena faced moments of doubt. She had never held a position with such authority, and the decisions she made could have significant consequences. One day, a critical situation arose. A scheduling mistake caused two major events to overlap, threatening to overwhelm the staff and compromise service quality. Lena calmly assessed the situation, consulted with department heads, and reorganized resources to ensure both events could run smoothly. Her ability to handle pressure with composure impressed not only the staff, but also the investor observing her progress. The events proceeded without a hitch, demonstrating her skill in crisis management and her capacity to remain composed under stress. Lena's approach to leadership was marked by empathy and inclusion. She recognized that staff members were individuals with unique strengths and challenges. She took time to understand their concerns, offered guidance, and celebrated achievements. This human-centered management style built loyalty and morale, creating a motivated team that worked efficiently and with enthusiasm. Staff began to emulate her professionalism and positive attitude, raising the overall standard of service. Meanwhile, the investor continued to mentor Lena, sharing insights about financial management, long-term planning, and strategic growth. Lena absorbed these lessons attentively, applying her practical experience to theoretical concepts, bridging the gap between knowledge and action. She began to understand how operational decisions could influence profitability, brand reputation, and long-term sustainability. Each lesson strengthened her confidence and prepared her for future leadership roles. One afternoon, the investor invited Lena to a meeting with senior management from another property he owned. The purpose was to discuss operational improvements and ways to increase efficiency across multiple locations. Lena listened carefully, asked insightful questions, and offered suggestions based on her experience. Her contributions were valued and noted, showing that her perspective was respected beyond the boutique hotel. It was clear that her influence was expanding, and she was becoming recognized as a capable professional in her own right. During this time, Lena also reflected on her personal growth. She remembered the night she had helped the drunk guest, the moment that had sparked this entire journey. At the time, she had acted out of empathy and a sense of duty, never imagining that her actions could lead to such opportunities. Yet, it was that very act of dignity and care that had caught the investor's attention and initiated a chain of events that transformed her life. Lena understood that integrity and kindness were not just moral choices. They were powerful forces that could open doors and create lasting impact. Her responsibilities continued to grow. Lena was asked to oversee a team tasked with redesigning guest services, improving efficiency, and implementing training programs. She approached the project methodically, gathering input from staff, observing operations, and researching best practices. Her leadership style, combining practical solutions with empathy, enabled the team to embrace changes and implement improvements effectively. The success of these initiatives further solidified her reputation as a capable and trusted leader. Challenges continued to arise. Lena faced demanding guests, unexpected operational issues, and moments where her decisions were scrutinized. Each time she relied on the same principles that had guided her from the beginning: patience, empathy, integrity, and careful judgment. She learned to balance assertiveness with understanding, maintaining authority while fostering collaboration and trust. These experiences not only enhanced her professional capabilities but also strengthened her self-confidence and resilience. One particularly challenging incident involved a guest who had booked an exclusive event package but encountered a problem with room availability due to a miscommunication. The guest was visibly upset and threatened to leave negative reviews online. Lena stepped in, listening attentively, acknowledging the issue and offering a solution that exceeded expectations, including personalized accommodations and complimentary services. By the end of the interaction, the guest left satisfied and impressed, highlighting the impact of Lena's approach to service and problem-solving. As Lena's leadership skills matured, she began to think strategically about the future. She considered ways to expand services, increase operational efficiency, and enhance guest satisfaction. She recognized that her ability to influence both staff and guest experiences could lead to significant improvements in the overall success of the property. Her vision extended beyond immediate challenges to long-term goals, reflecting her growth from a reactive problem solver to a proactive leader. The investor, observing Lena's progress, began to see her as more than a temporary assistant or consultant. He recognized that her combination of empathy, strategic thinking, and leadership potential made her an ideal candidate for greater responsibility. He started discussing the possibility of a formal partnership or an elevated role that could provide her with ownership opportunities and decision-making authority. Lena, grounded and cautious, considered these possibilities carefully, aware of the significance and implications of such an opportunity. By the end of Part 4, Lena had fully transformed from a waitress who had once simply managed daily tasks into a respected, influential figure within the hotel's operations. She had gained recognition for her intelligence, empathy, and leadership, successfully navigating complex challenges and building a strong, motivated team. The foundation for a life-changing opportunity was firmly established, rooted in her integrity, dedication, and consistent demonstration of professionalism. Lena was poised on the edge of a new chapter, ready to embrace opportunities that would not only advance her career but also change her life in ways she had never imagined. The day finally arrived, when Lena was invited to a private meeting with the investor to discuss an opportunity that could change her life. She felt a mix of anticipation, excitement, and nervousness as she prepared herself. Over the weeks, she had grown in confidence and skill, but this moment represented something entirely new: the chance to step into a role that would place her in charge, not just advising or improving operations, but shaping the future of a hotel. Upon arriving at the meeting, Lena noticed that the investor greeted her warmly. There was a sense of respect and mutual understanding that had developed over the weeks of collaboration. He began by recounting her journey, how she had handled the drunk guest with dignity, how her approach to staff and guest relations had transformed the boutique hotel, and how her insights had led to measurable improvements. Each story he shared emphasized the qualities he admired: patience, empathy, leadership, and integrity. "Lena," he said, "I've seen the way you handle challenges, how you inspire those around you, and how your decisions create lasting impact. I want to offer you a chance to take ownership, to lead this hotel in a way that reflects your vision and values." Lena listened attentively, her heart racing. She had never imagined that her actions, rooted simply in doing what was right, could lead to such an opportunity. She asked questions, seeking clarity on responsibilities, expectations, and the resources available to her. The investor was transparent, explaining that she would have authority over operations, staffing, guest experience, and financial decisions, with full support to implement her ideas. For Lena, the proposal was both thrilling and daunting. She reflected on her journey, from managing tables as a waitress to now potentially owning and leading a hotel. The magnitude of the opportunity was immense, but she recognized that her experiences had prepared her for this moment. She had learned to manage people, handle complex situations, and make decisions under pressure. Most importantly, she had cultivated empathy and integrity, qualities that would guide her in leadership. After careful consideration, Lena accepted the offer. She felt a mixture of relief, excitement, and determination. The investor congratulated her and outlined the next steps: transitioning responsibilities, developing a strategic plan, and introducing her as the new owner and manager to the staff. Lena understood the importance of this transition and committed herself fully to ensuring a smooth and successful start. The following weeks were intense. Lena worked closely with the investor and current management team to understand all aspects of the hotel's operations, from financials to guest services to staffing logistics. She spent long hours learning, planning, and making adjustments, ensuring that her vision could be implemented effectively. Despite the challenges, Lena thrived under pressure. Drawing on the skills she had honed over the past months, she began to introduce changes gradually, ensuring that staff understood her intentions and felt included in the process. Lena emphasized collaboration and communication, creating a culture where employees felt valued and motivated. She implemented training programs, revised workflows, and introduced small enhancements to the guest experience. Her approach was strategic, practical, and human-centered, fostering both efficiency and morale. Guests began to notice the improvements almost immediately. Service was smoother, staff were more attentive and engaged, and small personalized touches created a welcoming atmosphere. Positive reviews increased, reflecting the enhanced experience. Lena's leadership was visible not just in operational success but in the satisfaction and loyalty of both staff and guests. The transition also brought personal growth. Lena gained confidence in her decision-making, learned to balance authority with empathy, and developed a vision for sustainable success. She understood the value of listening, observing, and adapting, realizing that effective leadership was about guiding others while maintaining respect and integrity. Each challenge she faced strengthened her skills and reinforced her belief in the importance of her core values. One evening, as the hotel's day came to a close, Lena reflected on her journey. She remembered the night she had helped the drunk guest, the moment that had set everything into motion. At the time, it had seemed like a simple act of kindness, but it had led to a chain of events that transformed her life. She realized that her success was not just about opportunity, but about the choices she made every day, treating people with respect, acting with integrity, and giving her best in every situation. Staff members expressed their gratitude and admiration, recognizing the positive changes Lena had brought to the hotel. She took the time to acknowledge their contributions, understanding that her success was intertwined with theirs. The atmosphere in the hotel was one of respect, collaboration, and shared purpose. Reflecting the values Lena had championed from the beginning, the investor, seeing the hotel thriving under Lena's leadership, felt confident in his decision to entrust her with ownership. He continued to provide mentorship and support, but Lena's competence and vision were evident. She had transformed a challenging situation into a lasting opportunity, demonstrating that empathy, integrity, and dedication could lead to extraordinary outcomes. Over time, Lena's story spread among the staff and regular guests. People were inspired by her journey, from a diligent waitress to a confident hotel owner, and her story became a symbol of how simple acts of kindness and professional integrity could change lives. Lena remained humble, focused on her responsibilities, and committed to the principles that had guided her from the very beginning. In her new role, Lena continued to innovate and improve the hotel experience. She introduced programs for staff development, sustainability initiatives, and unique guest experiences that reflected her values and vision. The hotel prospered, not just financially but as a place where staff and guests felt valued and respected. Lena had created a legacy rooted in empathy, professionalism, and leadership, demonstrating the far-reaching impact of her choices. As Part 5 concludes, Lena had fully embraced her role as hotel owner and leader. The journey that began with a single act of dignity, helping a drunk guest, had led to life-changing opportunities, personal growth, and professional success. Her story serves as a reminder that integrity, empathy, and dedication can open doors, transform lives, and create a lasting, positive impact on the world around us. Lena's first months as the hotel owner were both exhilarating and challenging. The weight of responsibility was real, but so was the sense of accomplishment. Every day she walked through the lobby, greeted guests, and checked in on staff. She felt the tangible impact of her leadership. She had moved from being a waitress to someone who could make meaningful decisions that affected lives, both of guests and employees. The first major project she undertook involved redesigning the hotel's guest experience. Lena wanted to ensure that every visitor felt welcomed and valued, and she believed that attention to detail and personal touches could make a significant difference. She met with each department head to discuss improvements, encouraged staff to share ideas, and implemented changes that reflected a thoughtful, guest-centered approach. From personalized welcome notes to small amenities tailored to guest preferences, every initiative was designed to make the stay memorable. Staff morale was higher than ever. Lena had built a team culture based on respect, collaboration, and open communication. Employees felt empowered to take initiative, and they responded to her leadership with dedication and enthusiasm. She made it a point to recognize achievements publicly, fostering a sense of pride and accountability. Her approach created a positive cycle. Motivated staff led to satisfied guests, which in turn reinforced the value of good service and careful management. One afternoon, a situation arose that tested Lena's leadership once again. A high-profile guest arrived unexpectedly, dissatisfied with a room booking due to a technical error. Other staff members appeared nervous, unsure how to handle the confrontation. Lena stepped in calmly, listened to the guest's concerns, and offered immediate solutions. She rearranged accommodations, provided complimentary services, and ensured that the guest felt genuinely cared for. By the end of the interaction, the guest not only accepted the solutions but also expressed admiration for the level of professionalism and empathy shown. Lena realized that every challenge she faced was an opportunity to reinforce the hotel's reputation and her own credibility as a leader. As the hotel began to thrive under her ownership, Lena also focused on long-term growth. She developed strategies for sustainability, staff training programs, and innovative guest experiences. She collaborated with local businesses to offer guests authentic cultural experiences and worked to make the hotel a preferred destination for both leisure and business travelers. Lena's vision extended beyond immediate profitability. She wanted the hotel to become a symbol of thoughtful hospitality and ethical leadership. Lena's own personal growth continued in parallel with the success of the hotel. She had gained confidence, resilience, and a deeper understanding of herself. The journey from waitress to hotel owner had taught her valuable lessons about patience, integrity, and the power of empathy. She had learned that opportunities often arose from small, seemingly ordinary actions, and that how she treated others could have lasting consequences. The investor remained a mentor, providing guidance and insight while allowing Lena to take the lead. Their professional relationship had evolved into a partnership built on trust, respect, and shared values. He admired how she had handled the transition, navigated challenges, and implemented her vision. Lena, in turn, valued his experience and advice, using it to refine her strategies and make informed decisions. Guests began to notice the difference as well. Word of mouth and online reviews praised the hotel's welcoming atmosphere, attention to detail, and exceptional service. Lena's influence was evident in every aspect of the operation, from staff interactions to amenities and guest satisfaction. She had created a place where people felt valued and cared for, and this reputation further solidified the hotel's standing in the community. Lena also reflected on the initial act that had started this journey. Helping the drunk guest with dignity had led to unexpected opportunities and life-changing outcomes. She realized that integrity, empathy, and professionalism were not only morally right but also catalysts for growth and success. Her story demonstrated how a single, thoughtful action could set off a chain of events that reshaped one's life. As months turned into a year, Lena's hotel continued to grow in both reputation and performance. She hired additional staff, expanded training programs, and introduced new services that enhanced the guest experience. She also invested in community outreach, supporting local initiatives and fostering relationships that strengthened the hotel's connection to its surroundings. Lena's leadership was now recognized both internally by staff and externally by guests, industry peers, and the broader community. The transformation of Lena's life was remarkable. From a waitress facing daily challenges, she had become a hotel owner with vision, influence, and responsibility. Every decision she made reflected her values, and her commitment to empathy and integrity had become the foundation of her success. She had navigated obstacles, gained respect, and demonstrated that character and professionalism could open doors to extraordinary opportunities. Lena's journey also inspired those around her. Staff saw firsthand the power of dedication, kindness, and hard work. Guests experienced the impact of thoughtful leadership and exceptional service. The investor, proud of his decision to trust Lena, recognized that her qualities had exceeded expectations and that she had the ability to lead with both competence and heart. By the end of Part 6, Lena had firmly established herself as a hotel owner and respected leader. Her story served as a testament to the impact of empathy, integrity, and perseverance. What began as a simple act of kindness, helping a guest in need, had grown into a life-changing opportunity, transforming her career, her confidence, and her ability to influence the world around her. Lena had proven that with dedication, respect, and thoughtful action, ordinary moments could become extraordinary turning points, creating lasting change for oneself and others.